Two metals define the balance of power in the Marvel Universe. One absorbs the blow of a god, while the other cuts through anything in existence. Fans have argued for decades about which is superior, but the answer goes beyond simple hardness or strength. The history of these materials is written in blood and scientific accidents stretching from the hidden mines of Wakanda to the secret labs of the Weapon X program. We're looking at the complete classified history of the most dangerous substances on Earth. 10,000 years ago, a meteorite screamed through the atmosphere and slammed into East Africa. This cosmic object contained the rarest substance in the universe. The impact created the Great Mound, a massive deposit of vibranium that forever changed the local ecology and the 5 tribes who settled there. The radiation from the metal mutated the local heart-shaped herb and granted superhuman abilities to the first Black Panther named Bashinga. The outside world believed this was a legend for centuries, while an entire civilization rose atop a mountain of the most versatile metal ever discovered. Vibranium defies the standard rules of physics, rather than simply being hard. The metal absorbs kinetic energy, like sound or impact, at a molecular level, and stores it within its bonds. A steel wall vibrates and eventually breaks when hit, but vibranium molecules stay perfectly still while drinking in the force. This allows Black Panther to drop from a skyscraper and land silently because the energy gets trapped inside the suit. This power has a dangerous limit. The molecular bonds can shatter if the metal absorbs too much energy without releasing it, causing an explosion far stronger than a standard grenade. Not all vibranium protects the user. A second and terrifying variety exists deep in the prehistoric jungle of the Savage Land in Antarctica. This anti-metal does not absorb vibrations like the Wakandan variety, but emits them instead. It broadcasts a specific wavelength that destabilizes the atomic structure of other metals and causes them to liquefy instantly. An opponent's armor would melt off their body before a sword made of this substance even touched them. This substance terrifies those who rely on indestructible weapons, because it turns strong alloys into useless puddles of gray sludge. The rest of the world was desperate to catch up, while Wakanda guarded its secrets. The United States government hired a metallurgist named Dr. Myron McLean during the height of World War II. His orders were to create an indestructible metal for tank armor. McLean spent months in his lab experimenting with exotic elements and a small, stolen sample of vibranium. He tried to fuse it with steel repeatedly, but the materials refused to bond. An unknown catalyst caused the mixture to bond perfectly while he slept at his workbench from exhaustion. He woke up to find he had created a physically impossible alloy. The result of that accident was a disc-shaped alloy that defied analysis, known as Proto-Adamantium. This material became Captain America's shield. The shield in the comics is a unique alloy of vibranium, steel, and an unknown third factor, rather than pure vibranium. This combination gave it properties that have never been replicated since. It bounces and returns to the thrower instead of simply blocking attacks. Dr. McLean spent the next few decades trying to replicate the formula, but failed. The shield remains a singular artifact that stands apart from every other weapon in the Marvel Universe. Dr. McLean never recreated the shield, but he developed a valid alternative in the 1960s by removing vibranium and focusing on chemical resins. He named this development True Adamantium. The material starts as a liquid, but molders only have 8 minutes before it sets. The shape is permanent once the molecular structure locks into place. You cannot melt, bend, or scratch it. It survives direct hits from nuclear warheads without a blemish. It is denser than steel and astronomically expensive to produce. The US government finally had its indestructible metal, but they quickly realized that possessing it and using it were two different problems. Adamantium is effectively twice as dense as steel. Wolverine gained exactly 100 pounds of dead weight in addition to durability when they bonded this alloy to his skeleton. Every movement requires more energy, and every jump takes more force. An adamantium skeleton would be fatal for a normal human. Your muscles would tear trying to lift your own arms, and your joints would grind to dust under the pressure. Only someone with superhuman strength or a mutant healing factor can function with this metal inside them. The Weapon X program was torture disguised as science, rather than simple surgery. The metal must be kept at 1500 degrees Fahrenheit to bond with bone. They injected the molten alloy directly into Wolverine's marrow, instead of just coating the surface. The trauma of liquid metal searing through a skeletal system would kill a normal person instantly. His healing factor constantly repaired the burns as the metal cooled and hardened. Wolverine's iconic claws are his natural bone claws coated in the strongest metal on Earth, rather than implants. They can slice through tank armor with ease. Biology outsmarted technology because true adamantium is toxic. The metal would leach poison into the bloodstream and lead to organ failure within days in any other body. Wolverine's healing factor constantly works to neutralize this toxicity. His body altered the molecular structure of the metal over time into a form classified as adamantium beta. This material acts like a biological component. It allows his bones to produce red blood cells and transport nutrients without losing durability. The man and the metal formed a unique symbiosis that the scientists at Weapon X never predicted. Many villains and governments settled for secondary adamantium because true adamantium is difficult to create. This is the budget version, often seen breaking in the comics. Instances where the Hulk smashes a robot or Thor dents armor almost always involve this secondary alloy. It is still far stronger than titanium, but lacks the absolute invulnerability of the original. This explains decades of continuity discrepancies, where adamantium seemed breakable. The metal remained strong, but the antagonists used a cheaper grade. The Soviet Union wanted super soldiers, but lacked the formula for adamantium. Their solution was a cheaper and highly radioactive metal called carbonadium. This alloy is nearly as strong as adamantium, but much more flexible, and allows for the creation of whip-like tentacles, such as those used by Omega Red. Carbonadium actively shuts down healing factors. A wound from a carbonadium blade does not heal correctly, which makes it the perfect weapon to kill mutants like Wolverine. It serves as a more dangerous alternative to the American alloy by prioritizing lethality over pure defense. The Marvel Cinematic Universe relied solely on Vibranium for years, until the revelation in 2025 that adamantium is cosmic rather than man-made. The source of adamantium is the calcified remains of the Celestial Tiamut in the Indian Ocean. This location became the center of a global arms race. MCU adamantium is an organic cosmic metal harvested from a dead god. Unlike the alloy version in the comics, this shifts the global balance of power. Vibranium is a resource owned by a nation, while adamantium is a prize that every superpower is willing to start a war to control. The question of physical superiority arises when comparing the two metals. The Proto-Adamantium shield in the comics usually holds up against Wolverine's claws because it is a unique accident that even true adamantium cannot scratch. Adamantium wins the cutting test against standard vibranium. An adamantium blade would slice the fabric of Black Panther's suit. Even if the vibranium absorbed the kinetic energy of the swing, vibranium acts as the ultimate shield for defense and utility, while adamantium serves as the ultimate sword for destruction. One builds civilizations, and the other destroys them. The discovery of the celestial metal marked a dangerous new era for the MCU. Nations are mining their own gods rather than asking for Wakanda's help. This leads directly to the creation of weapons that can challenge the Avengers. Intelligence suggests that shadowy organizations are already experimenting with bonding this new metal to human subjects. In a manner similar to the Weapon X program, Vibranium made Wakanda a superpower, but adamantium threatens to turn the rest of the world into a battlefield. The difference depends on purpose. Vibranium functions as a metal of life that heals, powers cities, advances technology, and protects the innocent. It is a tool for building a future. Adamantium is a metal of death with no power source or healing properties. It exists only to kill and survive. You mine vibranium to build a utopia, but you forge adamantium to kill the person who built the utopia. A universe filled with gods and monsters likely requires both These metals represent the history of the Marvel Universe, from the mines of the Great Mound to the frozen labs of Weapon X. One represents the potential of construction, while the other represents the brutality of endurance. The clash between Vibranium and Adamantium is beginning as the MCU moves into 2025. The collision of these two indestructible forces will be deafening. Please like and subscribe for more detailed looks at Marvel's strongest elements.